The red planet beneath Princess Zara looked like a graveyard. Smoke still rose from the cities that once stood proud and tall. Another world had fallen to her mighty fists. She stood on top of a broken tower, her dark red armor shining under. Two suns that hung in the alien sky. Zara was not like other warriors. She was 7 feet tall with thick, natural armor growing from her skin like metal plates. Her people, the Vextari, were born fighters. They could move so fast that most creatures saw only a blur. Their strength could crush stone with bare hands. And Zara was the best of them all. She had never lost a fight. Not once in her 25 years of life. Over 1,000 warriors from different planets had tried to defeat her. All of them now rested in defeat. Some worlds surrendered just hearing her name. Others fought and regretted it quickly. Another easy victory, she said to herself, looking at the destroyed city below. These creatures were too weak to even make me sweat. Her wrist device beeped with an incoming message. The voice of Commander Throck, her father's most trusted. General filled the air. Princess, we have received something interesting from the Galactic Council. Zara's eyes lit up with curiosity. Galactic Council rarely sent direct messages to the Vextari Empire. They usually just complained about their expanding territory. What do they want now? She asked, cleaning dust from her armor. Blue planet called Earth has requested protection. They want to invoke the ancient law of single combat. Zara laughed so hard that pieces of the broken tower fell to the ground. The ancient law was old and rarely used. If a planet faced destruction, they could challenge the attacking force to single combat. One warrior against one warrior. Winner takes all. Earth, she said between laughs. I've heard of that place. They've barely learned how to leave their own planet. What could they possibly offer as a champion? Reports say they're called humans. Very primitive. No natural armor, no enhanced speed, no energy weapons. They use simple tools and fight with basic techniques. This made Zara laugh even harder. They think one of these humans can face me? The greatest warrior in 17 star systems, the challenge has been accepted by their representative. The fight is set for 3 days from now on Neutral Station. Alpha, the entire Galactic Council will watch. Zara's heart raced with excitement, but not from fear. She was excited because she was bored. The last 50 fights had ended too quickly. Maybe this human would provide a few minutes of entertainment before falling like all the others. Tell them I accept, she said, jumping down from the tower and landing perfectly on the ground below. And tell them to prepare a good view for the council members. They're about to see how real warriors fight. 3 days later, Zara stood in the center of Neutral Station Alpha's combat arena. The arena was a large circle made of the strongest metal in the galaxy. Thousands of beings from hundreds of different worlds watched from seats that rose high into the darkness above. She had spent the 3 days training, not because she needed to, but because she enjoyed showing off her skills. Her punches could break through steel walls. Her kicks could send a grown warrior flying across a room. Her speed made her nearly impossible to hit. Where is this human? She asked, looking around the empty arena. Are they too scared to show up? Then she heard footsteps. Slow, calm footsteps that echoed in the quiet arena. A door opened on the far side, and out walked the strangest sight Zara had ever seen in a combat arena. The human was nothing like she expected. He was shorter than her by almost 2 feet. His skin looked soft and weak, with no natural armor anywhere. He wore simple black clothes that looked like they would tear if she breathed on them too hard. His hair was dark and short. His eyes were calm and steady. He walked like he was taking a peaceful stroll through a garden, not entering a fight that would decide his planet's future. This is their champion? Zara said out loud, making sure everyone could hear her. This tiny, soft creature? The human stopped about 20 feet away from her and bowed slightly. It was a gesture of respect that surprised her. My name is David. Chen, he said in a voice that was neither loud nor quiet. I speak for Earth and all humanity. Zara looked him up and down like she was studying an interesting bug. David Chen, she repeated, testing how the strange name sounded. Tell me, little human, do you know who I am? Princess Zara of the Vextari Empire, David replied without hesitation. Undefeated in over 1,000 battles, known across the sea. Galaxy as the Stormbringer. Good, Zara said with a nasty smile. Then you know you have no chance. You can't last a minute against me, human. Not even 30 seconds. David said nothing, just stood there, watching her with those calm eyes. His silence made her angry. Are you deaf? She shouted. I said you can't last a minute against me. I heard you, David said simply. Then why aren't you scared? Why aren't you begging for mercy? David tilted his head slightly like he was thinking about the question. Because fear won't help me protect my people. The answer was so simple and honest that it caught Zara off guard. She had expected him to boast about his strength or make empty threats. Instead, he just stood there like fear was something he had left outside the arena. Protect your people. Zara laughed again. Can't even protect yourself. Look at you. No armor, no weapons, no enhanced abilities. What exactly do you plan to fight me with? David raised his hands in a basic fighting stance. His movements were smooth and controlled, but nothing special. Nothing that would threaten a warrior like her. These, he said, showing his empty hands. The crowd began to murmur. Some beings were laughing at the sight of this small human challenging the mighty Zara. Others seemed confused by his confidence. A few looked worried, though Zara couldn't imagine why. This is going to be embarrassing, she said, cracking her knuckles. Each pop sounded like a small explosion in the quiet arena. For you, I mean. The arena's announcement system came to life. Warriors, prepare for combat. This fight will determine the fate of the planet Earth. There are no rules, except these: no outside weapons, no outside help, and the fight continues until one fighter cannot continue. Zara stretched her massive arms and rolled her shoulders. Her bioarmor plates shifted and adjusted, covering every weak spot on her body. Energy began to flow through her muscles, making them stronger and faster than any normal creature could. Achieve. Last chance to surrender, she said to David. Admit your people are weak, bow to the Vextari Empire, and I'll make your defeat quick and painless. David shook his head slowly. My people didn't send me here to surrender. Then what? Did they send you here to do? David looked up at her with those steady eyes. For just a moment, Zara thought she saw something in them that made her uncomfortable. Not fear, not anger, but something else. Something she couldn't quite understand. To win, he said. Zara threw her head back and laughed louder than she had. Ever laughed before? Das. The sound echoed through the arena like thunder. Win? She gasped between laughs. You? Win against me? Oh, little human, you have no idea what you're up against. The announcement system spoke again. Combat begins in 10 seconds. 8. 7. Zara dropped into her fighting stance. Every muscle in her body was ready to explode into action. She would end this quickly and show the galaxy what happened when primitive species challenged their betters. 5, 4, 3. David remained calm, his breathing steady and controlled. 2, 1. The arena filled with the sound of a deep gong. Begin. Zara moved like lightning, her fist flying toward David's head with enough force to shatter concrete. This fight would be over in seconds, but something impossible happened. David wasn't there anymore. Zara's fist hit nothing but air. The powerful punch that should have ended the fight in 1 second whistled through empty space. She stumbled forward, caught off balance by her own momentum. What? She gasped, spinning around to find David. He was standing 5 feet to her left, exactly where he had been before, but somehow different. His calm expression hadn't changed, but now she could see he was watching her every move with sharp focus. Lucky dodge, Zara snarled, her pride stung by the miss. Let's see you dodge this. She launched herself at him again, this time with both. Fist flying in a combination that had never failed her. Left hook, right cross, spinning backhand. Each punch carried enough power to break through armor plating, but David moved like water flowing around rocks. He stepped back just enough to avoid the left hook. Tilted his head slightly so the right cross missed by inches. Ducked under the spinning backhand so smoothly it looked like he was dancing. Stand still and fight, Zara roared, frustration creeping into her voice. The crowd was murmuring now. They had expected to see the human get knocked out in the first few seconds. Instead, they were watching something no one had seen before. Someone was actually avoiding Princess Zara's attacks. David said nothing, just kept moving, his feet shifting position with small, careful steps. His eyes never left Zara's body, studying every movement she made. Zara attacked again, faster this time. Her enhanced speed made her arms blur as she threw punch after punch. But something impossible was happening, no matter how fast she moved. David seemed to know where each attack was going before she even started it. "How are you doing this?" she demanded, stopping her assault for a moment to catch her breath. David wiped a small drop of sweat from his forehead. "Doing what? You're too slow to keep up with me. I can see that you're not enhanced. So how are you avoiding my strikes?" David's answer was simple. "I'm watching you." "Watching me?" Your shoulder drops slightly before you throw a left hook. Your weight shifts to your right foot before you kick with your left. Your eyes move to the target you plan to hit half a second before you attack. Zara stared at him in disbelief. "That's impossible. No one can read movements that small at this speed." "Humans have been reading body language for thousands of years," David replied calmly. "It's how we survived when bigger, stronger creatures wanted to hunt us." This made Zara even angrier. She was being compared to a hunting animal, and this weak human was treating her like a puzzle to solve instead of a warrior to fear. "I'll show you how real predators hunt," she screamed. She activated her bio-enhancement systems. Energy flowed through her muscles, doubling her already incredible speed. Her armor plates shifted and locked into combat mode. Now she was moving so fast that even other Vextari warriors would have trouble tracking her movements. But David was still there when her punch arrived. Not where she aimed, but close enough that her knuckles brushed against his shirt as he twisted. "Away. This isn't possible," she whispered, staring at her own fist in confusion. 1 minute had passed. Then 2 minutes. Then 3. The crowd was completely silent now. Every being in the arena was watching something they had never seen before. Princess Zara, the undefeated champion of 17 star systems, was fighting a human for 3 whole minutes without landing a single solid hit. "You have to attack sometimes," Zara said, breathing harder now. The bio-enhancements were draining her energy faster than normal. "Can't just run away forever." David nodded slowly. "You're right. Then, why don't you fight me properly?" "Because I'm still learning." "Learning what?" David's calm expression shifted slightly. For the first time since the fight began, he looked directly into her eyes instead of watching her body movements. "Learning you." Something in his tone made Zara feel cold despite her heated armor. She had been in thousands of fights, but no opponent had ever spoken to her like that. Like she was being studied and cataloged instead of fought. "What does that mean?" she asked. David took a small step forward. It was the first time he had moved toward her instead of away. "It means I know that your bio-enhancement system makes you 2.3 times faster, but reduces your fine motor control by 12%. I know that your armor plates create a blind spot just below your left shoulder when you raise your arm to block. I know that you favor your right leg when you're tired because you injured your left knee sometime in the past." Zara's eyes went wide. Everything he said was true. The knee injury had happened during a training accident when she was young. She thought she had hidden it perfectly over the years. "How could you possibly know that?" "Because you've been showing me for the last 4 minutes." David took another step closer. His hands were still in that basic fighting stance, but somehow it looked different now, more purposeful. "You've been treating this like every other fight." "You've won," he continued. "Overwhelming force, maximum aggression, end it quickly. But I'm not like your other opponents. You're weaker than all of them." "Yes," David agreed. "But that's not always a disadvantage." Zara attacked again, throwing everything she had into a devastating combination that should have broken through any defense. But David wasn't defending anymore. He was attacking back. His counterstrike came from an angle she never expected. While she was focused on landing her powerful right hook, his palm shot forward in a simple straight line. Looked like such a basic move that she almost ignored it. The impact hit her right in the center of her chest. Just below her armor plates where the bio-enhancement energy flowed strongest. The shock ran through her entire body like lightning. Her own attack stopped mid-swing as every muscle in her torso cramped at once. She stumbled backward, gasping for air that wouldn't come. For the first time in her life, Princess Zara tasted blood in her mouth. "That's not possible," she wheezed, touching her lips with a shaking hand. The red liquid on her fingertips seemed to glow under the arena lights. David lowered his hands, but didn't relax his stance. "I told you I was learning. But you're just human. You don't have our strength or speed or armor." "No," David said, taking another step forward. "But I have something you don't." "What?" David's calm expression hardened into something that made Zara's warrior instincts scream warnings she had never heard before. "I know how to fight things stronger than me." The crowd erupted in shocked whispers and gasps. In over 1,000 battles, no one had ever made Princess Zara bleed from a single strike. Many opponents couldn't even scratch her armor, let alone hurt her through it. Zara wiped the blood from her mouth and stared at this impossible human. Her confidence was cracking like ice in warm water. This was supposed to be easy. This was supposed to be over in seconds. But David Chen was still standing, still watching her with those careful eyes, still learning. And for the first time in her entire life, Princess Zara began to wonder if she might actually lose a fight. Zara wiped the blood from her mouth and glared at David with new eyes. The taste of her own blood was foreign and bitter. In 25 years of fighting, she had never experienced anything like it. "You got lucky," she said, but her voice sounded less certain than before. "One hit means nothing." David didn't respond with words. Instead, he did something that made Zara's skin crawl with unease. He smiled. Not a big mocking smile like she would have given a defeated opponent, just a small, knowing smile that suggested he understood something she didn't. "What's so funny?" she demanded. "I'm not laughing," David said calmly. "I'm just ready to begin. Begin. We've been fighting for 5 minutes. David shook his head slowly. "You've been attacking for 5 minutes. I've been studying. Now I'm ready to fight." Something in his tone made Zara take a step backward without thinking. Her warrior instincts, sharpened by 1,000 battles, were screaming at her that something had changed. The prey she had been hunting was no longer running. David moved forward. Suddenly everything was different. His first attack came from below, a rising strike aimed at her ribs. "Ow." Zara moved to block it, confident in her superior speed. But the attack was a trick. While she focused on blocking the obvious strike, David's other hand shot out in a completely different direction. His knuckles connected with a nerve cluster just above her left elbow. Zara's entire arm went numb instantly. "What did you do?" she gasped, staring at her useless limb. "Pressure point," David explained, pressing his advantage. "Your species has the same basic nervous system as most humanoids. The locations are just slightly different." He attacked again before she could recover. This time, his target was her right knee. The same knee he had somehow identified as previously injured. His strike was precise and surgical, hitting exactly the spot where her old wound had never fully healed. Pain shot up Zara's leg like fire. She stumbled, her enhanced balance failing her for the first time. "Impossible," she breathed. "You shouldn't know about that injury. No one knows about it." "Your fighting stance told me," David said, circling her slowly like a hunter stalking wounded prey. "You protect that leg without thinking about it. You shift your weight differently when you're tired. Small things, but they add up." Zara tried to attack with her good arm, but David was ready for her. He caught her wrist mid-swing and twisted it in a direction that sent lightning bolts of pain through her shoulder. The bio-armor that should have protected her joints became a weakness as David used its rigid structure against her. "How are you doing this?" she demanded, pulling free and backing away. "You're just human." "Yes," David agreed, following her retreat step by step. "And humans learn something your people never had to." "What?" David's next attack came faster than her enhanced reflexes could track. It's not because he was faster than her, but because he attacked from an angle she never expected. While she watched his hands, his foot swept her legs. While she tried to regain her balance, his elbow found another pressure point on her back. Zara crashed to the arena floor for the first time in her life. "We learned how to fight gods," David said quietly, standing over her fallen form. The crowd was dead silent. Thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds watched in stunned disbelief as the greatest warrior in known. Space struggled to get back to her feet. Zara rolled away and forced herself to stand, but her movements were clumsy now. Her left arm still hung useless at her side. Her right leg could barely support her weight. Worst of all, the confidence that had carried her through every previous battle was cracking like broken glass. "This isn't possible," she repeated. But the words sounded hollow even to her own ears. David studied her with those calm, calculating eyes. "You know what your real weakness is?" "I don't have any weaknesses. Everyone has weaknesses. But yours is special." Zara activated more of her bioenhancement systems, pushing her body beyond safe limits. Energy crackled around her armor as her remaining strength doubled, then tripled. Her speed increased until she was moving faster than most beings could. Even she attacked with everything she had left, throwing punches and kicks that could have demolished buildings. But David moved through her assault like he was reading from a script. Every attack missed by just enough. Every opening she created was exactly where he wanted it to be. "Your weakness," David said, dodging another devastating punch with minimal effort, "is that you've never fought anyone who is actually trying to kill you." The words hit Zara harder than any physical blow could have. "What do you mean? You're the princess of a warrior empire. Every opponent you faced was either weaker than you, or they were holding back because of who you are. No one has ever fought you with the intention of actually defeating you." David's next combination was different from anything he had shown before. Each strike was precise and purposeful, targeting specific points on her armor and body that he had mapped during their long exchange. Wasn't trying to overpower her anymore. It was systematically dismantling her. "But I'm not fighting Princess Zara of the Vextari Empire," David continued, his attacks becoming more aggressive with each word. "I'm fighting the thing that wants to destroy my world." A perfectly placed strike to her solar plexus doubled Zara. Over in pain, another hit to her shoulder made her good arm drop like dead weight. A tap to the side of her head made her vision blur and her balance fail. "And I will do anything to protect my people." Zara fell to her knees, gasping for air that wouldn't come. Her bioenhancements were failing as her body reached its limits. The armor that had protected her for so many years felt like it was crushing her instead of helping her. David stood in front of her, completely calm and barely breathing hard. Looked exactly the same as when the fight had started, except for one thing. His eyes were no longer calm and studious. They were the eyes of someone who had made a decision. "Surrender," he said simply. "Never," Zara gasped, trying to force herself back to her feet. "I am Princess Zara. I have never been defeated." "Then you've never really been tested." David's final attack was almost gentle. A simple pressure point technique that shut down her remaining bioenhancements and left her completely paralyzed from the neck down. She could see and hear everything, but her body would no longer obey her commands. She lay on the arena floor, completely helpless, staring up at the human who had just accomplished the impossible. "How?" she whispered, the only word she could still manage to speak. David knelt beside her, and for the first time since the fight began, his expression softened with something that might have been sympathy. "Because my people have been fighting for survival since the day we learned to walk upright," he said quietly. "We've faced ice ages, plagues, wars, and creatures that wanted to eat us. We learned that being the strongest doesn't matter if you're not smart. Being the fastest doesn't help if you can't adapt. And having the best armor is useless if your enemy knows exactly where to hit you." The crowd was starting to cheer, but David ignored them completely. He kept his attention focused on Zara. "You're a great warrior," he told her, "but you've never had to be a survivor." Zara closed her eyes, feeling something she had never experienced before. Complete and total defeat. Not just of her body, but of everything she thought she knew about combat, about strength, about herself. When she opened her eyes again, David was extending his hand toward her. "The fight is over," he said gently. "But this doesn't have to be the end." Zara stared at David's outstretched hand like it was a poisonous snake. Her entire body was still paralyzed from his final technique, but her mind was racing with emotions she had never felt before. Shame, confusion, and something else she couldn't name. "I don't need your help," she managed to whisper through gritted teeth. David kept his hand extended. "I know you don't need it. I'm offering it anyway." "Why?" The word came out harsher than she intended. "You defeated me. According to the ancient laws, Earth is now protected, and my empire must retreat. You've won everything. Why would you help?" "The enemy." David was quiet for a moment, looking at her with those same calm eyes that had studied her so carefully during their fight. "Because you're not my enemy anymore. Of course I am. I came here to conquer your world. You came here because your empire sent you. There's a difference." Zara tried to pull herself up without his help, but her arms still wouldn't obey her commands. The paralysis would wear off eventually, but for now she was completely helpless. The feeling was more terrible than any physical pain she had ever experienced. "Leave me alone," she said, turning her head away from him. "Let me lie here in my defeat like the failure I am." Instead of leaving, David did something completely unexpected. I sat down on the arena floor beside her, ignoring the thousands of cheering spectators above them. "You want to know something interesting about my people?" he said, looking up at the crowd that was celebrating Earth's victory. "No, we have a saying. It's the strongest steel is forged in the hottest fire." "Do you know what that means?" Zara didn't answer, but David continued anyway. "It means that breaking isn't always the end of something. Sometimes it's the beginning of something stronger." "Easy words from the winner," Zara muttered bitterly. "You think I've never lost?" David asked, genuine surprise in his voice. This made Zara look at him again. "Have you?" "Hundreds of times. I've been beaten in training, defeated in competitions, and knocked unconscious more times than I can count. I've failed at things I thought were important and made mistakes that cost people their lives." Zara frowned. This wasn't what she expected to hear from a victorious warrior. "Then how did you become so strong?" "By learning from every failure, by studying every mistake, by understanding that losing a battle doesn't make you a failure unless you stop trying to get better." David gestured toward her paralyzed form. "Do you know what I see when I look at you right now? It's a defeated warrior who will never be the same again. I see someone who just learned something valuable that no opponent has ever been able to teach her before. What's that supposed to mean?" David's expression became serious. "You've spent your entire life being the strongest, fastest, most skilled fighter in every room you entered. That's made you incredibly powerful, but it's also made you predictable? Predictable? You fight the same way every time because the same techniques have always worked for you. You never had to adapt because you never needed to. Every victory made you more confident in your methods, but it also made you more rigid." Zara felt a strange stirring in her chest. It wasn't anger this time, but something closer to curiosity. "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying that this defeat might be the best thing that ever happened to you as a warrior." "That's impossible. I've lost everything. My reputation, my undefeated record, my pride." "No," David said firmly. "You've lost your limitations." The crowd above them was starting to quiet down as they noticed the two fighters sitting together. Instead of celebrating and mourning separately, "Think about it," David continued. "Before today, what was your biggest weakness as a fighter?" Zara thought about this for a moment. "I don't know. I never had any major weaknesses." "Your biggest weakness was that you never had to overcome anything truly difficult. Every challenge you faced was something you could solve with raw power and speed. You never learned how to adapt when those things weren't enough. And now? Now you know what it feels like to face an opponent who can counter everything you do. You know what it's like to have your usual tactics fail completely. You know what? It's like to be pushed beyond your limits." David stood up and brushed dust off his simple black clothes. "That knowledge is worth more than 1,000 easy victories." "But I still lost," Zara said, finally feeling some sensation returning to her fingertips. "Yes, you did. And that's exactly why you can become a better fighter than you ever were before." The arena's medical team was approaching, but David waved them off. "Give us a few more minutes." "Why are you doing this?" Zara asked. "Why are you helping me understand instead of just walking away with your victory?" David sat back down and looked directly into her eyes. "Because I think there's something you need to know about why I was really sent here." "What do you mean?" "My people didn't choose me because I was the strongest human alive. They chose me because I was the most expendable." This shocked Zara more than anything else he had said. Expendable. "I'm not a soldier or a professional fighter. I was a teacher before this. I taught children how to solve problems and think critically. The only reason I was selected as Earth's champion was because everyone else was too important to lose. That can't be true. It's just true. My leaders figured that if Earth was going to fall anyway, they might as well send someone whose death wouldn't hurt their defense capabilities." Zara stared at him in amazement. "But you're incredibly skilled?" "I learned to fight because I had to. When smaller, weaker humans need to survive in a dangerous world, we get very good at finding advantages that others miss." "So you're saying that being underestimated made you stronger?" "I'm saying that necessity made me creative. It's just like this. Defeat can make you more adaptable." Feeling was slowly returning to Zara's arms and legs. She managed to sit up on her own, though she was still shaky. "Tell me something," she said. "If you were considered expendable, what does that say about the humans who were too important to send?" David smiled grimly. "It says that Earth has more surprises, waiting for anyone who thinks conquering us will be easy." For the first time since the fight began, Zara felt something other than shame or anger. She felt respect. Not just for David's fighting ability, but for the cleverness of his people. "Your species sent a teacher to defeat their greatest warrior," she said slowly. "What kind of soldiers do you have? It's the kind that have been preparing for this fight their whole lives, instead of learning about it in the last 10 minutes? Managed to get to her feet, swaying slightly but standing on her own. She looked at David with new understanding. "You didn't just defeat me," she realized. "You taught me. Sometimes they're the same thing, and now, what happens now?"
Us. David's
expression became serious again. "Now you have a choice to make." "What choice?" "You can go back to your empire with this defeat and spend the rest of your life trying to forget it happened. Or you can use what you learned here to become something more than you were before. And what would that be?" David looked up at the watching crowd, then back at Zara. "Someone who fights for more than just victory." The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with excited conversations. Representatives from dozens of worlds whispered among themselves about what they had just witnessed. The impossible had happened. A human had defeated Princess Zara in single combat. David stood before the council, still wearing his simple black clothes. He looked tired, but calm as the council leader. A tall being with silver skin and glowing eyes, prepared to make the official announcement. By the ancient laws of single combat, the council leader declared, "The planet Earth is hereby granted protection from the Vextari Empire. The challenge has been won fairly and completely." The chamber erupted in cheers and applause. Earth. Small delegation wept with relief. Their world was safe, but Zara wasn't celebrating. She stood in the corner of the chamber, her red armor now cracked and dented from the fight. Her empire's generals surrounded her, their faces filled with shame and anger. "Princess," General Throck whispered urgently, "we must return to the empire immediately. Your father will want to know what happened here." Zara nodded slowly, but her mind was elsewhere. She kept thinking about David's words during their conversation after the fight, about becoming something more than she was before. "Princess Zara," the council leader called out, "do you accept the terms of your defeat?" All eyes turned to her. This was the moment when she was supposed to bow her head, acknowledge her loss, and lead her forces back home in disgrace. But instead, Zara did something that shocked everyone in the chamber. "I request political asylum," she announced in a clear, strong voice. The chamber fell completely silent. Even the council leader's glowing eyes seemed to dim with surprise. General Throck grabbed her arm. "Princess, what are you saying?" Zara pulled away from him gently but firmly. "I'm saying that I will not return to the Vextari Empire. But you must. You are the heir to the throne." "I was the heir," Zara corrected. "Now I am something else." She walked toward the center of the chamber. her footsteps echoing in the stunned silence. When she reached David, she stopped and looked directly at him. "You asked me to choose between going back to forget this defeat or using it to become something more," she said. "I choose to become something more." David studied her face carefully. "Are you sure? This decision will change your entire life." "Entire life changed the moment you made me taste my own blood," Zara replied. "There's no going back from that." The council leader leaned forward in his chair. "Princess Zara, asylum requests are very serious matters." "This request?" Zara took a deep breath. This was the moment when everything would change forever. "Because the Vextari Empire is not what the galaxy thinks it is," she said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "We are not conquerors seeking glory. We are refugees running from something that terrifies us." The chamber exploded into shocked gasps and urgent whispers. This was not what anyone expected to hear. "What do you mean?" the council leader demanded. "For the past 50 years, the Vextari Empire has been expanding not out of greed, but out of desperation. Something is coming from the dark regions of space, something that has already consumed half of our original territory." The face went pale. "Princess, you cannot speak of this." "It is forbidden." "Forbidden by who?" Zara shot back. "By the same leaders who sent me here to die fighting a human they thought would be easy to defeat. By the same empire that has been lying to its own people about why we keep moving from world to world." She turned back to the council. "The thing that's coming doesn't negotiate. It doesn't take prisoners. It consumes everything in its path and leaves nothing behind. Dead worlds, empty space, silence." David stepped closer to her.
How long do?
"We have, I don't know exactly, maybe 5 years, maybe 10, but it's coming. And when it arrives, every world in this galaxy will face the same choice my people faced." "What choice?" "Run or die." The council leader stood up from his chair.
These
"Are very serious accusations, Princess. Do you have proof of this threat?" Zara reached into her armor and pulled out a small device. "This contains sensor data from our outer scouts. Shows what happens to solar systems when the darkness arrives." She activated the device, and a holographic display appeared above the chamber. What it showed made several council members gasp in horror. Empty space where star systems used to be. Not destroyed or broken apart, but completely gone, as if they had never existed at all. "This is what we're running from," Zara said quietly. "This is why the Vextari Empire conquers worlds. Not because we want to rule them, but because we need somewhere to go when our current worlds become ... nothing." David studied the holographic display with the same careful attention he had given to Zara's fighting patterns. "How do you fight something like this?" "You can't," Zara admitted. "At least we couldn't. Our greatest warriors, our most advanced weapons, our strongest ships, none of it mattered. The darkness just takes everything." "Then why are you telling us this?" the council leader asked. "If this threat is truly unstoppable, why warn us?" Zara looked at David again. "'Cause today, I learned that there are different kinds of strength. I learned that sometimes the weakest fighter can defeat the strongest warrior if they understand something the warrior doesn't. You think humans might know something we don't? I think humans are the first species I've met that specializes in surviving things that should kill them." Zara's voice grew stronger with each word. "Your champion just proved that superior force means nothing if your enemy understands you better than you understand yourself." David was quiet for a long moment, processing everything he had heard. "You want to help us prepare for this threat?" "Want to learn from you how to fight impossible battles and win them," Zara corrected. "And in return, I can teach you everything my people know about the enemy." General Throck stepped forward angrily. "Princess, this is treason. You cannot share military secrets with alien species." "What military secrets?" Zara demanded. "How to run away really fast? How to abandon worlds when the fighting gets too hard? How to send your greatest warriors to lose fights against species you don't understand?" She turned back to the council. "My people have been fighting this war the wrong way from the beginning. We tried to meet force with force, strength with strength. We lost because we never learned to adapt. You think working with humans will make a difference?" Zara smiled. remembering something David had said during their fight. Humans learn to fight gods. Maybe it's time the rest of us learned how they did it. The council leader looked around the chamber, seeing the fear and uncertainty on every face. This is a decision that affects the entire galaxy. We will need time to consider your request and evaluate this threat. Time is the one thing we don't have much of, Zara warned. But I understand. David stepped forward. While the council decides Princess Zara is welcome on Earth, we have a lot to learn from each other. You would trust her after she came here to conquer your world, General Throck asked in disbelief. David looked at Zara with a small smile. She's not the same warrior who made that threat. Defeat has a way of changing people, usually for the better. Zara felt something warm in her chest at his words. For the first time since her defeat, she didn't feel ashamed of losing. Grateful for it. Thank you, she said simply. Thank me after we figure out how to save the galaxy, David replied. That's going to be a much harder fight than the one we just finished. Zara nodded, feeling more excited about a challenge than she had in years. Good. I'm tired of easy battles. As they walked out of the council chamber together, neither of them knew exactly how they would face the coming darkness. But for the first time since the threat began, someone was planning to fight back instead of run away. And sometimes that's how the impossible becomes possible.